I woke up drenched in sweat and frozen in terror. Usually this was normal for me, but tonight felt different. Something was off in my bedroom. Something was wrong. My hand fumbled in the dark until it found my phone. Midnight. 7 more hours before I'd need to get up for work. I glanced at the open door and saw the dim yellow glow of the porch light spilling through our cheap, cracked blinds near the front door. I set the phone back down, let out a heavy sigh, and turned toward my wife. She was sound asleep beside me, her back facing me. My fingers gently traced the curve of her spine as I tried to calm myself and drift back to sleep. But when I woke again, I was drenched in sweat and trembling. A cough rose in my throat, and I fought to suppress it so as not to wake her. But the dryness clawing at my throat wouldn't let me be. I got up and shuffled through the doorway to the kitchen, keeping the lights off. The yellow glow outside was enough to guide my way. Our apartment was small, just 2 bedrooms, a single bath, and no children yet. I knew the layout well enough in the dark. Reaching for a cup, I poured myself some water, listening to the steady sound of liquid filling the glass. That's when I realized something was wrong, too wrong. The apartment was silent, the kind of silence that presses on your eardrums and suffocates the air around you. I froze, staring at the window by the front door. The faint light still streamed through the blinds, but a gnawing suspicion pulled at me. I stepped closer and lifted one slat, just enough to peer through. A dense fog blanketed everything outside. The cars usually parked out front were invisible, swallowed by the mist. Beyond the 10 feet of visible asphalt, there was nothing but void. The porch light tinged the haze a sickly yellow, like nicotine-stained glass. As I lowered the blind and turned back toward the kitchen, I froze mid-step. The light spilling onto the floor had shifted. A shadow interrupted the glow, a thin, unmoving line that hadn't been there before. My pulse quickened as I turned back to the door. Slowly, silently, I checked the lock and the deadbolt, testing them both. Secure. My heart pounded in my ears as I stared at the shadow, my breath hitching. Was someone outside? Minutes passed. The shadow didn't move. Neither did I. Finally, I forced myself to retreat to the bedroom, step by step, never breaking eye contact with that black line cutting through the light. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I reached out to touch my wife. She was still there, still peaceful, her soft breath steady. I sat. I stared. My eyelids burned as exhaustion crept in. Blink, yawn, blink. When I woke again, I bolted upright, gasping for air. My heart pounded in my chest as I scanned the room. The shadow was gone. I turned to my wife, relief flooding through me. She was still there, still sleeping soundly, her face serene. But when I checked my phone again, the time hit me like a hammer. Midnight, again? Dry-mouthed, I stumbled back to the kitchen, passing through the faint yellow light. The cup of water was still there, untouched, exactly where I had left it. Terror coiled in my chest. Am I still dreaming? I clenched my eyes shut, willing myself awake, but the humid sweat clinging to my skin and the scratch in my throat felt too real. I opened my eyes again, scanning for any sign of the shadow. The light was steady, the floor undisturbed, but the creeping dread remained. I tiptoed to the bedroom, shook my wife's shoulder gently, and whispered her name. She didn't stir. I tried again, louder this time, when a sound froze me in place. Knock, knock, knock. Soft, deliberate, and unnatural. I turned toward the door, my pulse a deafening roar in my ears.
Hello? Is someone there?
The voice was female, but it carried an edge of something wrong, too sweet, too calm, like a child playing innocent after breaking something fragile. Trembling, I crept closer to the door. The shadow was gone, but the light spilling onto the floor seemed smaller, confined to a narrow strip. I couldn't resist. I peeked through the blinds again. The fog was still there, thicker now, and at the very edge of visibility stood a figure. It was a woman's body, naked and motionless, but her head was gone. I stumbled back, tripping over the corner of the coffee table, the sound splitting the silence like a gunshot. My hands shook as I peered out again, hoping, praying it was just some kind of cruel mannequin. But it wasn't. Black streaks trailed down the chest and stomach, like charred veins crawling across its skin. Though it was utterly still, I could see the faintest sway, as if the air itself pulsed around it. And then I heard it. A faint mechanical hum, barely audible at first, but growing louder with each breath I took. I looked up. Above the door, hovering just inches from the frame, was a severed head. Its face was slack, eyes hollow and staring. Dark, greasy hair hung down in limp tendrils, brushing against the door. Its mouth was open, but it didn't move when it spoke.
Hello? Won't you come out?
The voice was calm, too calm, unnatural. I bolted back to the bedroom, my legs trembling beneath me, and shook my wife harder this time, yelling her name. She didn't wake. The knocking returned, louder now, echoing from every corner of the apartment. Windows rattled, walls groaned.
Hello? Please come out.
The voice grew closer, more desperate, yet eerily monotone. When I turned back toward the window, the fog had receded, and more figures emerged. Dozens of them. Headless bodies swayed like broken marionettes in the sickly light, some standing, others floating in the air. My mind raced, my heart felt ready to burst. And then I realized the knocking wasn't coming from the door anymore. It was coming from behind me,